What's up, Ravens fans? It's time to answer your questions in Ravens Mailbag. Ryan Mink is finally back here in the continental U.S. What, you spent like a month in Hawaii?
Yeah, whatever it wasn't long enough.
I'm sure that's exactly right. Well, it's nice to have you back here, and we're going to dive right into the questions like, who are the Ravens going to lose in free agency, and could there be any backlash with this year's draft? All of that and more on today's Mailbag.
First question comes from @Leo Wallahi, and Leo asks, will we lose any significant players in free agency, and which ones? Well, yeah, I would say the Ravens will lose at least one significant player in free agency, and I think that player most likely will be Kelechi Osemele, the left guard, who really could go on to become a Pro Bowler. I kind of look at him like a Ben Grubbs situation of a few years ago. Ben Grubbs was a high draft pick. He was a first rounder. Kelechi was a second rounder, but really one of the top players at left guard. But it's just tough to pay those guys top money when the Ravens have so much money going elsewhere to players that they drafted at marquee positions, more marquee than left guard. So I can see KO going elsewhere with a big contract. Justin Tucker is another big name free agent, significant player. He's going to stay, whether it's on the franchise tag or new contract. And then the other wild card is Courtney Upshaw. I think he's a significant player. He's a great run stopper, edge setter. And I don't know. That one's 50-50. I don't know which way to swing on that.
I look at that as a coin flip, too, going into this offseason. All right, the next question comes from Mike Rice, and Mike is thinking about the draft right now. How are you going to deal with fan backlash when Ozzie takes a left tackle at 6 instead of a bright, shiny corner or a pass rusher? Well, this is a pretty good question.
Yeah, we've already talked about this one privately.
Yeah, we've had this conversation in our office a number of times, and, going with the offensive line or a non-sexy position is certainly something that the Ravens have done in the past. But you know what? Let's tell the old story. Have you heard this story back in 1996? The Ravens were trying to figure out who they were going to draft, and Jonathan Ogden, this offensive lineman from UCLA, was on the board, and Ozzie said, I want that guy. And all he did over the next decade was become one of the best left tackles in NFL history.
He didn't take
Lawrence Phillips, the running back who a lot of people wanted the Ravens to take, and ended up having a very short NFL career and didn't work out at all. Yeah. So the point is, there won't be any backlash if whoever he ends up taking ends up becoming a Pro Bowler a la Jonathan Ogden. There might be backlash at the time, but really, that doesn't matter. What matters is the kind of player that they get down the road.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Next question comes from Mark Rogers, and Mark asks, are the Ravens talking extension with Brandon Williams? If they wait, the price may go up. Well, Mark, we haven't heard anything confirmed that they're talking to Brandon. With that said, it would not surprise me if those talks begin probably after free agency opens. I mean, the first priority are the guys that are going to be free agents this year. Brandon won't be a free agent until next season's over. He's signed through this season. So I would assume that probably during the year and warming up to next offseason around this time, we're definitely going to be talking extension with Brandon Williams, because to me, I think he's a guy that the Ravens want to have here for a long time.
Yeah, and the Ravens have a history of trying to get guys signed before they play out the contract.
Right.
That's what they did last year with Jimmy Smith.
But they don't do it before March of the previous year. They do it during the season or during training camp leading up to that.
Yep. All right, the next question from Brandon Williams. Not the Brandon Williams that we're talking about.
Are you sure?
Well, we don't know exactly. Maybe Brandon's interested in what's happening. Brandon wants to know, with Dennis Pitt probably retiring, would the Ravens consider drafting another tight end? Well, I would say probably not when I look at it, and they have Crockett Gilmore, and they have Max Williams, they have Nick Boyle. All of those guys are young players. So you have 3 tight ends. You're probably not going to keep any more than that. 4 would be max. But you know what? I thought something was interesting. When John Harbaugh talked to a group of people along with Buck Showalter recently, he said, you know what? I'm for a game changer at tight end. If we can find somebody at that spot, I'm not opposed to it. And so that to me was interesting, because that's not a position that I would say is not a need at all. But I think if there's a player there who the Ravens think could be a difference maker for the offense, they won't hesitate. And I think the key message there is that goes for every position, probably the exception of quarterback.
They want a playmaker.
They want a playmaker at wherever that position is, and if they can find one, they're going to draft him.
At a bargain, for sure.
Yeah.
Our last question comes from Ryan Ramey, and he asks, do you see us using Darren Waller and other wide receivers that were injured last year and giving them a chance rather than bringing in free agent wide receivers? Well, Ryan, you might be the only Baltimore Ravens fan that isn't clamoring for us to add a free agent wide receiver. So thank you. Thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate it. I will say that the Ravens will definitely give some of these guys a chance. Michael Campanaro is a guy I think they definitely want to look at. If he's healthy, Campanaro can be a matchup nightmare, and I really like what I've seen from him. He just has to stay healthy. Darren Waller specifically you asked about, he's going to be going into his second season. He's a 6th-round receiver who I think the Ravens liked what they saw from in limited doses last year in training camp, and they liked him on special teams. But with that said, I don't think that Darren's going to have an especially long leash. I mean, they need some of these young playmaking wide receivers, the Jeremy Butlers, some of these young guys. they need to step up and start making plays consistently, or the Ravens are going to find somebody else, because I think they're tired of having a group of good receivers, who have a lot of potential, and we talk about their potential. They want guys who produce in and day out in practice. So they're not going to have a long leash, but I think those guys will get a chance.
I think that wide receiver is going to be one of the most interesting positions to see who makes that team.
Yes,
There's going to be
very
20
competitive
guys competing for 6 spots next year.
Yes.
All right, so that does it for us in this week's Ravens Mailbag, but we love hearing from you guys, so send in those questions every week. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.